Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Match End Podcast. It is a terrific Tyrannosaurus Thursday this morning. I woke up today thinking about you guys, as I do sometimes, and that's usually an indicator I need to get something out of my heart into the ethers so that you can download it from wherever it comes from. Hopefully not from me, hopefully from something a little holier. Holy brother Ben today. And I came downstairs with kind of this concept on my mind that I was having a conversation yesterday about faith and maintaining long-term life of faith, especially as you guys are getting ready for the blessing matching processes and you're wondering about the future and you're hearing and seeing with your own eyes people's faith fizzling away within a few years after getting blessed, after entering the workforce, and you're wondering what's going on, and it's seemingly, kind of a frightful thing to see, and I've seen it so many times. So I came downstairs, like, I'm gonna make a video about this, and then I saw my wife, gave her a hug, as I do, make a joke to my kids, pick on them a little bit, play some Legos, as we do. In the morning, they come downstairs and the first thing they do is go to the Lego room and they play Legos, and they're making a house right now. We have an entire Lego room, by the way. It's an entire room it's our dining room that we converted into a Lego room because we don't need a dining room and a kitchen, so we just use the dining room as a Lego room, and it's 100% only Lego, and that's where they spend the majority of their life. It's just in the Lego room. And so I was saying goodbye to Hito, and she was upset. Right? I was like, honey, what's wrong? And she's like, I gained weight, right? Like this. She's gonna kill me if she hears this, but she's not gonna watch this, so it's okay. Don't tell her I said this. She's like, I gained weight. I was like, oh, how much? She's like, I'm 101 pounds. She goes, I'm 101 pounds. And I'm like, I started laughing, right? First of all, for context, I am exactly twice her weight. All right, I weigh twice as much as my wife, twice. So just imagine for a second if you're a woman being married to a man that is twice the size of you, and that's the relationship that we are. So I have sympathy for her existence. And then I was like, oh, 101 pounds. I didn't know that, right? And then I was like, well, how much did you weigh when you were blessed, right? Because that was like at her prime, before children, when she was really trying to fit into that blessing wedding dress. And she was like, 99 pounds. I was like, so you gained 2 pounds in the last 14 years? And she was like, yeah. I was like, okay, honey, you're fine. Don't worry about it. So that's the kind of dynamic we have, is that she gets stressed about, not stressed, she just gets like down about this stuff, and I just make fun of her and say it's gonna be fine, and then she feels better. But sometimes she's that for me. Actually, more so than not, it's usually, to be honest, I'm having a low day, like stress day, and I'm the one that kind of tends to spiral in my mind and thinking like, oh, I'm a terrible person and I'm the worst, and then I kind of just want to like curl up in a ball and like sleep, or just go be alone, right? Or I'll like go out in nature, and I'll be very introspective for like an entire day, and she'll kind of be the one that's trying to like get me out of it. Like, come on, stop being an idiot. You're fine. So we need that. And when you guys are blessed and in a relationship, I think fundamentally the thing that is the best part, and this is something that most married people that are happily married will agree on, the best part of being married is not necessarily the affection or the intimacy it's really to have somebody that's always there. Yeah. Somebody that is always there every day, ready to talk, ready to listen, ready to share with. When you're really struggling, when you're the most happy, someone that's going to celebrate your victories with you, and someone that's going to pick you up when you fall on your face. That's it. Someone that's always there. You don't have to reach out to them. You don't have to be like, hey, can we talk? I have this thing that they're always there. They're ready. And that's such a blessing. It's such a privilege. And to share that life experience with someone, that to me brings me the most joy, is that there's just someone there. And when you're at your lowest times, you'll be the most grateful for that person. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And so I came back to the car after having that funny laugh at my wife for gaining 2 pounds in 14 years and 3 children. And I came in the car and started recording, turned this on because I wanted to talk about the idea of having faith, long-term faith, because I was having an insightful conversation with a brother yesterday, and we were talking about back and forth on faith, like how is it that these are real stories? Like, I think you know people that have probably gung-ho GPA, STF, graduates, 2-3 years, start the matching process, all vertical, okay, conditions, whole 9 yards, get blessed, 40-day separation, all this stuff, and then within like less than 5 years, everything's shifted on its head. There's no God. Your parents are a sham. My blessing is not worth it. I don't believe in anything anymore. Let's divorce. It happens. Not all the time. There are some stellar blessed couples, right? But it seems like it happens, I think, for number one, because we often hear about those and are often emotionally charged. They're often emotionally charged in those stories stick with us. But it does happen. And so it really begs the question, what's going on? How is it you can go from going in this direction to then, after a few years, going in that direction? How does this happen? And so we were talking about this with this brother, and he asked me that question, like, how do you do it? Because on the surface, it doesn't seem there are many couples that are thriving and happy that you see, right? And I would say that that's not true, actually. I understand it's tempting to think that, but I'm the only one that's out here blabbing away. Like, you see my face all the time, you know, on the thumbnails and newsletters and et cetera, and people are sharing my content around. But there's tons and tons of blessed families, fathers, husbands that are just silently, day by day, working hard and doing conditions, doing prayer, taking their family to church, doing all the things that I'm doing and more, by the way. But you just don't hear from them. And to the same extent, it's like, you know, like influencers, for example. I was really intrigued by this and depressed for an entire day, because I was searching for, like, who are the role models in my life? Like, who are the people that I can look up to and learn stuff from? And I was kind of looking at who I know in my personal life, and I was kind of looking at people online, like online personalities, etc. And then I was asking ChatGPT, I was like, okay, ChatGPT, help me out. I'm looking for somebody, like, who are the most influential people? I said, give me the top 20 most influential people of our current modern day, and list them all, right? And it's like, okay, bam, 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 bam. Okay, cool. I know most of them, if not all of these people. All right, now tell me, ChatGPT, of these 20 men in particular, how many of them have children and are married currently, right? Currently married. And then line by line, I kid you not, it goes, not married, no children, not married, no children, not married, no children, divorced, 2 children, divorced, no children. Every single one. Every one. And then that's why for a whole day I was just depressed. I was like, I can't believe that this is the standard. This is who we're looking up to as men. This group of people. And so I was depressed. But I didn't realize, through a lot of introspection, that the people that are the most influential actually are not the ones that are the loudest. They're the ones that are the quietest. Look at the most influential people in history. They're not on YouTube. They're not making reels on Instagram, right? They're the people that are quietly, silently playing the long game of faith, family, and prioritizing important things over external flamboyant things. But the ones that you hear from and notice the most are the ones that are the quote-unquote influencers, right? Who's the most influential person in history so far? The OG influencer, right? It would be Jesus Christ Almighty. It would be Christ. Think about it like that. A man who had 3 years of ministry, no formal education, a carpenter, for goodness sake, was looked down upon by all the religious figures and leaders, had a following that was very small in the beginning of fishermen and carpenters and lowly people, and then look at the impact that Christ made on the worldwide collective culture, society, everything. Just look at what date it is. What's the date right now? 2025. What does that mean? Yeah. Christ's impact is the OG influencer, right? ChatGPT didn't say Jesus Christ. No. well, to be fair, I asked for current alive influencers. But imagine if he did what he came to do. Imagine if he had an entire life like true father and true mother have, to build a family, to raise a blessed family, to receive the blessing, to bestow the blessing, to give the blessing to his disciples, right? And we'd have not 30, but 60 years of ministry, of content that he's sharing. Like, how impactful that would have been for the world. My goodness, you can't even imagine. And so when we're looking at our movement, we're looking at true parents, we're looking at father, we're looking at mother, and we're thinking, oh, we don't know. Like, are we surviving? Are we lasting? Is our faith thriving? I think it's foolish to not think beyond 2,000 years from now. Like, give it 2,000 years. Give true parents 2,000 years. And see the impact, see the ripple effect, right? The things that Jesus came to say were revolutionary at the time. You know, because if you actually look at the words, like, what was it about what he was saying that people are so gravitated towards? It was the concept of love and compassion for your neighbor. To love God with all your soul. It was the concept of paradise, of the kingdom of God, right? This is like, when you look at the stuff he was talking about, it's so basic to us now. It's so basic. It's like, yeah, love your neighbor. Don't kill your neighbor. Yeah, have compassion for people around you. Yeah, don't look down upon people because they're lesser than you. That's so basic concepts. And we, at the time, were like, this is revolutionary. It's amazing. And think about the concepts that true parents have brought. Even the concept of free will itself. The fact that we have freedom of responsibility, and everyone's like, well, God doesn't exist, because if God was real, then why would he let war and crime and poverty happen? Free will. Because God doesn't intervene with free will. It's revolutionary stuff. And free will is what impacted the fall of man and woman. And the fall of man and woman had the impetus of a sexual, sinful relationship that nobody talks about. There's not one religion on the planet except really, really small sects, tiny, tiny groups of people that talk about the fall of man and woman as a sexual relationship. Nobody says that. That is mind-blowing. But it's so common sense to us to think about now. It's so obvious. And that is how history is going to unfold over the next thousands of years, is the concepts that we're talking about here. That God is a loving parent, that God is a loving father and mother, that the family, the blessed family, is the unit, is the foundation, is the bedrock of a healthy society and thriving society, will be obvious common sense. And they're going to look back at now and be like, I can't believe that was, they're going to say, I can't believe that people didn't get this. I can't believe that it wasn't revolutionary at the time. All right? And so we're talking about faith. And so the basis of this episode here is, why is it that I, as a 30-something-year-old, married and blessed for a number of years, am living in this world, raising my children in this world, but I'm still convicted in my faith? First of all, I'm not the only one. But to answer this question simply, to answer it simply for you guys, how do we maintain faith? That's really where we're getting to. How do we maintain faith? Is it going to church every Sunday? Is it doing Handoke every day? Is it going to Champyeong, for 40 days once in a while? Is it to go to Korea for all this stuff? Is it to do whatever practice you guys are doing or thinking of? Yes and no. I would say yes to an extent. That's helpful. My experience, this is just speaking from me now, I don't know what the answer will be for everyone that has maintained a strong life of faith over many years. For me and my wife in particular, it's not that we're doing something, actually, it's that we're not doing a lot of the stuff that usually traps people, all right? So let's back up a bit. Fundamentally, every human is seeking love. We can agree on that. Every human is seeking unconditional love, God's love, God's eternal, unending, unconditional love. And that love is what drives human behavior, humanity. And if an individual doesn't receive that love sufficiently, they will seek out love and validation and security in ways, any way they can, any way we can. We will try to fill that void of a need for deep love, any way we can. And the reality is that most people, the vast majority of people, and you've seen this in your own behavior, I know, seek out love and validation in ways that are actually not real of God, that are not of God's unconditional true love. And that is why people tend to gravitate towards whatever way they can feel love, any way they can soothe the torment and the need for healing and intimacy in their lives. They will gravitate towards that. And so if someone is not able to feel what God's love really feels like, if someone is able to feel what God's love really feels like, they will gravitate towards that and they will seek more of it, which is what I have done. And if they've never really felt God's love, like from a deep, deep sense, and sought out it and tried to seek out and feel it more and experience it more and to give it to other people, not for myself, but to be given, then what happens is people find artificial ways of experiencing love, imitation ways of feeling God's love. And it could be anything from social media to procrastinating. It could be anything from food addiction to porn, masturbating. It could be sex addiction. It could be dating around. It could be seeking validation through just external looks and focusing really, really, solely on seeking validation for my external looks. It could be a variety of things, you name it. All the degeneracy that you see in the world is forms of people trying to feel love, which comes from a very genuine, God-given, just instilled upon us need and desire to feel love. It does. But the problem is, if you don't fill it with the true source, if you don't fill it with real stuff that's actually healthy and helpful, then we're going to gravitate towards stuff that's not. Okay, so in that case, many of the people that do veer off from the path of faith, even within a few years after getting blessed and going into life and hitting the hustle culture, they start to veer off, right? Because they're trying to seek love and validation in some way. Money is a tremendous form of status and feeling validated and feeling like I am loved that is completely temporary and does not eternally last, all right? Seeking out just being validated as somebody that has succeeded, for example, in whatever definition of success means to you, is another form of validation. And so that's a very common one I see. It's not that money itself, the seeking of money, that makes people, faithless. It's the replacement of love and God and the desire we have for that with something like status or money or working hard or hustling that makes people follow that path because they do receive some sort of benefit, whether it's fleeting and temporary and not long lasting or not. They're getting some benefit from that short term. And they're seeking after that. And I understand that because I've sought that out for a long time. I understand that mentality very much, all right? But that's an understanding of what's going on, okay? And it's not to demonize working hard. It's not to demonize career, climbing the corporate ladder. It's not to demonize anything in life. It's to really understand that can happen and does happen very much. And so for my wife and I would have to say, to be honest, we have experienced a lot of love in our relationship, true love, that comes through a lot of back and forth, give and take, like coal becoming diamond, a lot of pressure in our relationship, a lot of fighting, and confidently can say that as a result, we've received so much love from each other. We've received so much true love, like God's love, the unending love of God, right? And because of that, you don't feel this need to seek out external imitation love from anyone, from anything, from any source, right? And because of that, we're able to focus on the things that matter and the faith that we want to develop, the internal world, right? It's because it's not that we're doing something special. It's just that we're not trying to seek that from anywhere else. We're just okay and content with the love that we experience in our lives currently, right now, right? We don't spend a lot of time, for example, what trips up a lot of couples is just being busy from, this is an example of what I mean, just being busy from two people that are working, climbing corporate ladders separately, and the kids, this is the typical scenario in our world. The kids are full-time in school, probably a local school, and they are coming home after what, 6, 7, 8 hours of school, coming home, doing homework for God knows how long, watching TV because they haven't had time to relax, or going on the internet most likely, and then going to bed and repeating the next day. And on the weekend, what do you have? Everyone's tired. No one has time to do anything. No one has headspace to go to church. And the parents, to be real, are probably so exhausted, or they are working on Sunday, so they don't go to church. And so what happens is you have this spiral of seeking out more, busy. And they're not seeing that this is not the way that Chanuguk members are meant to live. We don't live in the wilderness anymore. We live in Chanuguk, internally, spiritually speaking. We live in a spiritual Chanuguk that True Mother and True Father have already firmly established and proclaimed. So why is it that we have to live our lives anyway that we have lived in the last hundreds, thousands of years? Why? And so when I'm raising my family, everything we do, I question through the lens of who says? Who says we need to do that? Who says we need to go to school? Who says we need to do our blessing relationship a certain way? Who says our kids need to learn XYZ before what age? Who says? And this is a funny thing that is going on in our family. That's like our family motto right now. Is who says? Everyone says it. Hitoe says it. My son Kojin, he's 10 years old. He says this all the time. If I ask him to do something and I say, well, you should do it, and he's like, who says? Like this. Who says? Who says I need to do that, right? And it's not to say that everything is wrong and we're just trying to be contrarian. It's just that we have to question everything that we've been doing until now. Everything that we've been learned. Everything that we believe is true. We have to be able to have curiosity and say, okay, maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more to the picture and I'm only seeing a tiny piece of the puzzle, but there's an entire portrait that I'm not seeing. And I think that's been the revelation of what we've been learning from True Mother, to be honest, is that we've only been seeing life and faith and providence through a tiny little peephole or a piece of puzzle that we were thought, we're like, oh, this is that. I know what this is. This is this thing. I know what this is. I know what that is. I know what that is. That's glass. That's wood. That's this. And then we're not opening our perspective to see that there's an entire world, there's an entire galaxy, there's an entire spiritual realm that we're not seeing. Instead of looking at my little people, right? And so our family, our blessing, we have no rules about like we have to do things a certain way, you know? And so if you look at our lifestyle, just as an example, it's pretty different, to be honest. Like my kids are homeschooled. Our family, we have only one person working and the other person works, you know, is at home. My wife is at home and she's been doing that since the beginning of our blessing, which is not common, especially in the West. And we're just happier for it. Like how easily we can just get up and go to another country to live in Japan. Actually, next month, we're going to be going to Japan for 3.5 months to live with her parents, my wife's parents, or near their parents. We're going to travel around Japan, and then I'm going to Korea, right, for the blessing and for 2 weeks to staff and whatnot. And so it's just an unordinary life that is based on just like, why do we have to live life according to how everyone else is doing? And so anytime I see people in our culture that are doing things a certain way, the tendency usually is that if everyone is doing things a certain way, like everyone right now, and especially in my area, North Carolina, parents are so focused on getting their kids a good education so that they can go to college, right? If that's you, that's your prerogative. I see that and I think, how can I, as fast as possible, remove my children from that environment? All right, now this is my unpopular opinions about education in general that I'll talk about in a different time. But it's not that I don't think education is important. I did go to university, remember that. I just think that there's a disproportionate emphasis in our culture on education, to the point where children are spending an egregious amount of time and attention and energy on their schooling, and they're not doing much else. And when they do have time left, what are they going to do? They're probably going to spend most of their time on the internet and playing games, right? I don't think that's an environment I want to raise my kids in. So anytime I see that kind of culture, I don't think, oh, maybe I need to do that. Instead, I think, how can I run away from that as soon as possible? Well, first of all, I evaluate it. Is this healthy? Is this what I want? for our family in my life. And if it's not, I just run from it and I just observe and be like, no, that's not chanolguk. That's how we've been operating for hundreds of years in the States. That's how families have been operating for, like, I don't want that, you know? Or that's some cultural new thing that's trending right now. It's like, I don't want anything to do with that. That's not my family. And so this is all to say that at the end of the day, guys, you have to just evaluate yourselves and be hyper observant of your life and your faith and your beliefs, and it's not to question everything like from a skeptical perspective. It's to have curiosity. Because skepticism is healthy. If you're not skeptic, you're not human. Everyone is skeptic. It's part of being a human. But there's a difference between optimistic skepticism and pessimistic skepticism. All right? An optimist will look at a situation and think, how can I learn from this? What am I not seeing about what your mother's saying, about what your father's saying? What am I not seeing about what's going on in Korea? All the things that you tend to judge, tend to label, tend to think aren't untrue. An optimist will say, okay, maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Let me learn. Let me be curious. A person that has skeptic or pessimistic skepticism behavior and tendencies will say, oh, I know what that is. I'm right and they're wrong. I know what that is. I know what that is. And they'll poke holes in everything, and you're unable to enjoy life because everything is wrong, everything's not good enough, and you're never happy. Okay? And so what I'm saying to be curious, a skeptic, is like, be curiously skeptic. Be curious. When your mother came to Las Vegas and Uncle Double D Damien came and started doing the workshops in Las Vegas, right? Immediately I was like, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna drop everything I'm doing. I'm gonna go. Why? Because I was like, I'm curious. I want to know what's going on. If your mother's saying some things, I'm gonna learn about it. I'm gonna be interested, and I'm gonna figure it out, right? And I'm gonna pray about it. That's curiosity. That's a curiosity I have. So I would say that's probably a piece of it. Apart from everything I've said so far, the main thing I've said so far is that we all want love, and you have to make sure that you're seeking love in the right places. Interestingly, people can seek artificial love from religious practice as well. I actually know people, I'm not going to name them. I know people, you probably do too, that use religion as a way to escape and to find validation in love. You might know people that are like the gung-ho STF GPAers that are just like front of the line getting completely validated for their faith, right? You might know older first gen that make their faith the central centerpiece of their entire life, and everything else is wrong. Everything that is remotely different from this is questioning my beliefs is wrong. If people believe that, guess what that is? That's called ego. It's called ego. It's trying to seek validation. And love, it's trying to find God's love in things that are not God's love. It's an empty black hole of eternal damnation because you cannot find God's love anywhere else but from God. If it is not God's love, it is not love. It is from something else. It's from somewhere else. It's not God. And so that's the reason, my friends, is we're all trying to find that. We're all trying to find that. And some people do use religion as a way to experience artificial forms of love, of validation. And then within a few years, after they stop receiving that validation, they lose their faith, they go back to their old lifestyle, start sleeping around, they divorce, they break their blessing, and they denounce their faith and believe everything's a sham. Why? Because they didn't have faith to begin with. It wasn't real. It wasn't God. It wasn't of something substantial. That's it. It's simple. It's so stupid simple. This has been the impetus of human suffering from the beginning of human suffering. This is why Adam and Eve fell. They were trying to receive God's love, and they didn't know how to do it. God was giving love to them, but they didn't receive it. They didn't open their hearts to receive it. It was there all the time, but they chose to find validation in other places because they were young and they were growing and they were immature. As we all are at some times. That's it. They were trying to receive God's love, and they didn't know how, and they didn't do it in the proper way. And this is not to bash Adam and Eve, because we tend to do that. This has been the trend throughout all of history, if you haven't noticed. War, crime, degeneracy, family breakdown. Everything horrible you can imagine in the world is based on people trying to get God in their lives and failing because it doesn't solve anything from them. People are trying to find love. They're trying to find money and status and fame because they feel like it'll make them experience what they're fundamentally desiring for, but it's not going to do it because it's not of God. It's of something else. So this is not new stuff. This is not Benjy's concept. This is principle 101. It's the lack of love that caused the human fall. It's the lack of love that causes all of degeneracy and suffering in humanity. That's it. That's it. It's simple. And so you don't need to worry about, oh, do I need to do hundoke more? It's like, yeah, if you want to, but that's like less than 20% or less of the actual equation here. You could use do hundoke until your eyes come out. But if it's on the basis of trying to seek out something that you're not getting elsewhere, then it's not going to work. It's not. And so you got to find a way to feel God in your lives. How do we do that? That's the eternal question. I've made several episodes here on the podcast about how to receive God's love, how to find God's love. I think there's an episode that is verbatim called How to Experience God or something like that. So go check out that episode. And the basis is that God is experienced day by day through humans, through people, through the four realms of heart, through your parents, your spouse, brothers and sisters, through your children. That is how God created humans to experience love. And so when you have those relationships, and the opportunity for us is to go deeper with those and experience God more deeply through those. And the more you experience God in those relationships, the easier it becomes to experience God everywhere else in your life. Anywhere, middle of the night, in the middle of the woods, you could be in outer space, for goodness sake, and you'd be like, man, God is here. Think about that for a second. If you're in outer space floating around by yourself, would you feel alone, or would you feel God is here? Even way out here, where there's nothing here. Nothing. For trillions of miles, there's nothing. Would you feel alone, or would you feel, wow, God is here. God is with me. Think about that. Which one would you feel? God is with you every way, just as God has been there all the time. We just have to let it in and let ourselves get out of the way. Yeah? All right. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this podcast episode. It was spontaneous. I appreciate your attention and your time very much. I shout out to people that are worried about me driving while I'm I got a few comments, 2 comments from people, emails saying, I wish you wouldn't drive. You shouldn't drive while I'm. So to you, you don't have to watch. And also my car drives itself, so if that helps at all. And then I do want to hear from you guys. If you're somebody that wants to connect and share with your story and your matching process or in your struggles, I make myself available just to people that listen to the entire podcast and are serious about faith and the blessing, right? If you want to email me just to share something, you can do that, but only if you want to. And yeah, it's benjyuyama@gmail.com, benjyuyama@gmail.com. You don't have to do it, but you can if you want. I do like hearing from you guys. I have nothing to sell you if you are wondering about that. Like I'm gonna drop the shoe on you and sell you some program. Nope, nothing to sell you. I don't want. You're not worth my time. I'm just kidding. You are worth my time. That's why I want to hear from you. Okay, that's all I have. If you want to hear some specific content on the podcast, I'm always open to suggestions. Maybe not. Depends on what it is. All right, lots of love. Bye. Bye-bye.